Okay.
One of the things that amazed me was my father was a school teacher. So was my grandmother, his mom. My dad taught in a one-room school. Also, there was 3 different schools that he taught down home where I come from. And what I always thought was pretty neat was at recess time, my dad would bring his gun to school, and they'd go out and hunt deer at recess at noon hour, and the young boys would put on deer drives to try to get a deer. This is in school, you know?
Oh my word.
Today, I mean, could you imagine that today?
No.
You know, I live not too far from the school. I don't ever remember seeing any wild animals.
That's pretty strange.
Yeah.
There was no deer. The only thing I ever remember seeing is woodchucks.
Woodchuck, that's what you were saying.
And our dogs would chase the woodchuck. No?
Are you ready for me to
Yeah.
do this? Okay.
And start out with your name.
All right. Name is Airey Burke. My wife is Ann Marie Burke. We've been married for 50 years. That was just a 3 weeks ago that we enjoyed our 50th wedding anniversary.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm originally from down in Wyalusing, and Ann Marie is originally from Indusha.
Okay.
And we got together today because Maria was wanting to get some information of what it was like to attend a one-room school. And I was very fortunate to be able to do that. And the school that I attended was in the little village of Sugar Run. It's just a little ways from Wyalusing, where the Wyalusing School Jointure is today. We had visited the school here this summer. It still stands. It looks about the same as it did. They take very, very good care of it. But in any event, when I was going to this one-room school, I've listed it sort of lengthy, but if you'd like, I can go over the things
the whole thing
that I remember.
Yeah, awesome.
I guess one of the things that really stands out in my mind as we were going to this one-room school, the teacher, his name was Mr. Airey, put a very strong emphasis on the history of our country, and especially our presidents. There was a picture of George Washington in our one-room school, and there was a picture of Abraham Lincoln. But it was really stressed at a very young age that it was important to know about our country.
Sure.
The older boys in the school would get our water every day. They went across to a farm across the road, and every day they would bring fresh water, and it was put in a dispenser in the school. There was a small stove that was in the center of the school, and it would burn wood or coal, but for the time that I was there, it was strictly coal. The teacher was always there early, every day in the winter, to make sure the school was warm. I never remember the school being ever cold. It was always cozy, and it was always warm. I had mentioned to Maria too that the teacher had strung a wire sort of around the stove, that when the young kids would get their clothes wet from being outside playing, especially in the winter, they would take their outer garments off, and he would hang them on this wire to let them dry through the day. The school did have a school bell. It was rung in the morning to start the day, and then it was rung at lunchtime, and then it would also be rung for our recesses. And if you were doing good in school, you could be chosen to ring that school bell, and there was a rope that would hang in the back of the school, And that was a big deal for kids, that you were allowed to ring the bell. But Mr. Airey was always there just to make sure that it was going to be rung not too long and just right. The school grounds had a small building that was just below the school, and that's where the wood and the coal was stored for the winter months. I never recall the boys bringing the wood in or the coal. It apparently was always Mr. Airey that did that job. We had an outside privet. That was a very common thing. It was above the school. And in the back of the school, when you were going out to go outside, there was a piece of paper that was maybe 8 by 10, and it was red on one side, green on the other. And if you needed to go outside and use that facility, if the paper was green, it means there was no one else in the privet.
Oh.
If it was red, it was being occupied, and it was male and female. Not two, there was one.
Mm-hmm.
But you had to raise your hand, and if Mr. Airey would give you permission, then you were allowed to go out and use that.
Mm.
I remember in the school we used to play a lot of games at recess and at lunchtime. In the winter, it was mostly what we call fox and geese, and that was where an older student would go out and they'd make little trails through the snow, and then there was a home base. Some were fox, some were geese.
Oh, that's cool.
And the fox would chase you, and if you got back to home all right, you were safe. If they caught you out in one of these paths, you were sort of out of the game. In the warmer weather, we played tag, which everybody knows how tag is done.
Mm-hmm.
But we also played a game that was called Healy Over, and that consisted of a row of kids on one side of the school and a row of kids on the other side of the school, And it started out as one of the children would throw a soft ball over the top of the school, and someone would catch the ball on the opposite side. When that occurred, the person that threw the ball and the person that caught the ball would run in opposite directions around the school. If you went back to home base where the ball was thrown, you were safe. If you were last, you were out of the game.
Oh.
And that was played a lot.
I remember that, but I never knew what the name of it was.
Yeah, but that was played a lot. Another thing that we used to do, not the girls, but the boys, but I had mentioned to Maria that we used to bring pocket knives to school. And at recess time, we would go down to where the coal building was. We'd go on the back and we'd throw these knives and try to make them stick into the coal building. That was a big challenge for us. I don't think that would happen today. I really had fond memories of the school. I think that the thing that I had the fondest memory of was Christmas. And it sort of bothers me just a little bit to think about that.
Oh.
But in any event, there were several windows in the school, and what we would do is we would hand decor the school for Christmas, and we used to use red and green paper, and we would cut little circles, and then we would glue these together, and we'd make chains
Oh, yeah.
that would drip and hang on the school.
Mm-hmm.
And when that was done, then one of the boys would bring in a Christmas tree, and the Christmas tree was decorated for Christmas. I don't recall ever bringing gifts, but I do remember that the school seemed very special.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that always bothered me about it, and I thought was really nice, that each year Mr. Airey would select a special person that he knew wasn't going to have a Christmas tree. So that was given to a child to take home.
Mm-hmm.
That was nice.
That's beautiful.
It was really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
The only teacher that I ever had in a one-room school was Mr. Airey. He was a well-built man, very highly respected, but he was also feared as a teacher. And if a child would misbehave, the child would be taken up to the front of the school, and there was sort of a little step up. There was a little platform where the teacher's desk was, and it was a little higher than where the children sat. And there would be sort of a trial, if you would, about what this person would do.
Were students involved in the trial?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, they were involved if it was something that student had done to a child in the classroom. If a person was found to be guilty, the child or young person would be taken outside of the school, but into where the entrance, as your picture would show in the school here, the little cubulo. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Airey would take off his personal belt, and the child would be disciplined by being hit with the belt. He closed the door when he did that, but I can still recall it was always a routine thing that all the other kids in the classroom would count how many times the belt was distributed. 1, 2, so people say, but you'd always count that. And that was just the way it was. Along those lines, though, of the years I was ever there, I never saw Mr. Airey ever discipline a girl. It was always a boy that got in trouble. The girls were not. They may be spoken to, but never disciplined.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the way it should be.
Did you go barefooted before?
No.
We went barefooted all summer long.
All summer long. One of the things that meant a lot to me was the fact for my love of music, because my family had passed that down, and I've played out publicly since about 8 years old. So in the one-room school that I attended, they had a music teacher that would visit the school once a month, and she had a portable piano. Her name was Mrs. Stevens. She was over towards Weissnach, and she would come once a month, and we would sing, and that was pretty nice. But I can still see her bringing in that piano and setting it up.
Yeah.
So we did have music.
She would bring in the piano.
She would bring the piano. Yes. It was not awful big. It wasn't a full size.
Okay.
It was a smaller.
Yeah.
But it was still a piano.
That's great.
Of course, within school there were always tests. You had to pass your tests, and when the tests were given, the school was 1 to 8th grade. But when the tests were given, in the front of the school where Mr. Airey sat at his desk, there was a blackboard. It was the full width of the school, and he wrote all the questions for the test on the blackboard, and then that was your test, but it was all done by hand. The student was given 1 pencil and 1 tablet a month. If you ran out, probably that was not a good deal. You got 1 pencil, 1 tablet. One of the things that I'm just recalling how that really was there, we had no pencil sharpener to sharpen your pencil. So anytime that you needed your pencil sharpened, you take your pencil up to the teacher, and he would take his jackknife and he would sharpen your pencil, and then you were ready to go again. But there was no pencil sharpener to do that.
We had one of them.
We didn't have that.
You had a sharpener?
On this large blackboard, all the students did take turns in cleaning the blackboard. You took the erasers then outside and you would hit the erasers together. So that was a little chore that each one was assigned. Something else I think it's been truly lost today is around the edges of the school there were very large pictures of the alphabet, lowercase and uppercase alphabet. And one of the things that was taught, was penmanship. And they would Mr. Airey would show us how you had to make your O's and do your slants. And penmanship was something that was very prided. It was a pride. And if you look at your old documents of how beautiful the penmanship was, at that time it was still considered important to be able to write.
That's right.
I don't remember printing.
Never printed, Betty. No, it was always cursive. As I said, the school went from the first grade to the 8th. We had a few students that did walk to school. Most came by bus, and the school was located on 2nd Street, so we had to walk up quite a steep grade to get to the school. It was, as I said, it was located in Sugar Run. Sugar Run still stands. Sugar Run is a very historic place for our Native American Indians. There were villages strewn around this little town. If in fact you were fortunate enough to get a few pennies or a nickel or so from your mom or your dad, we were allowed to go down to a country store that was in existence there. It still stands, but no longer a country store. But you could go down and buy candy. You could get some ice cream if you chose. It was rare, but once in a while, your mom would give you maybe a nickel or so in your lunch. Lunches were always packed. That's for sure. As I say, the school still stands today. It's in very good shape, and my memories of it will last forever.
Thank you very much. That was beautiful.
Good.
Really beautiful.
Down a Sugar Run, but I will tell you a story that I have been interested and have collected American Indian artifacts since I was in high school. So down at GTP Sylvania, as it is today, that was very, very inhabited with Native Americans.
Yeah.
The one building, they were doing restoration and they were digging quite deep into the ground to do some of this renovation and installing new equipment. It was apparently over an Indian burial.
Yeah, right.
There was a worker that was down in this hole, and he looked up and he saw a Native American chief standing and looking down at him, saying, you know, you really shouldn't be here doing what you're doing. And the guy quit. There's a story.
He wouldn't go back in there.
Well, he wouldn't go back. He refused to go back in.
Wow.
I can tell you something else that I think is true, because it can even happen in this day and age. Again, down in this area, they found an old Irish cemetery, and handling this very carefully, they knew without a doubt that some of the people that were buried in this cemetery mistakenly were buried alive. That when they exhumed these bodies, instead of the person being laying down as you would expect it, in their agony they had been able to turn over upside down and be face down. And that's pretty much a true story.
Oh my
Well,
word.
you know, her dad took care of the Oak Hill Cemetery
Mhm.
from 59 until 72. And he said when he died, he said, if I die before you do, make sure that I am cremated. I do not want to go down and lay in any
Undertakers.
Ann Marie and I were down to one of our doctors, and some of the things that our grandparents and even our parents were good. There was times could be really tough, but I think getting back to what kids did he got reminiscing on Halloween. People say they used to be characters, you know. I mean,
Well, they would tip over the outhouses.
Yeah.
You remember that, Bay?
Oh, yeah, they
He
used
was-
to do a lot of different things.
he was
Yes.
talking about tipping over these outhouses.
Yes.
They would put up on the barn roof too.
Yes.
Oh, they did?
They could
Yeah.
move and they would, but
Well, he was really amplifying the importance of a hat. And that was a big deal. And this one, there was a group of these young folks, Halloweeny, and they ran over and they tipped over this outhouse. So they're skedaddling out of here. Well, their one buddy couldn't find him. When they tipped over the outhouse, his hat fell off, and guess where it fell? Well, he went down and got that hat. Yes, and so he ran back and he said, "You know what? There wasn't one person that was going to take him home." You know, he made me laugh. I mean, it was so humorous. But you know, some people got violent with it. They would shoot into the cars. You know, they would try to get away if they
well,
had.
the weddings back then too, they always had the bellings.
Yeah, they
Remember
were
the
talking about
bellings?
weddings.
When you got married, a young couple would get married. Well, some night after they got back from their honeymoon, these folks would get together and...
It was called a belling. You ever hear of a belling?
No,
You never heard of a belling?
A
Betty?
belling.
no, we didn't live around, there wasn't a lot of people that were around for it.
Yeah. Well, these bellings, once you got married, they might wait a week or two, and then most of they would be either back on the farm and then they would come in and they'd make you do all kinds of things. They'd make you take all your furniture outside and put
They
it
would
in the
come in at
lawn,
like 9, 10 o'clock at night. They wait until you go to bed.
set off dynamite, shoot
Then they would come
shotgun.
in and then somebody would take your bed apart and you'd find your bed up on top of the roof. Meantime, this other group is occupying yourself, you know. You think everything's fine. In the meantime, hanky-panky was going on.
Stanley mentioned about taking wagons and buggies apart, which they did, and they put them on your roof of your barn, and the next morning you get up and characters, you know.
Oh my goodness.
He was fun to listen to. He could
Then
really,
you would have to go find people to help you.
Oh, that's funny.
it is funny. And you know the other thing, you know, we talk about how things were, but years ago, people were friendly and they visited each other. I don't think our families were unusual, but a big deal for our families was playing cards. You know, they would get together and they would play cards, you know.
Cards or anything like that was a no-no in my family.
And that was
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
No, why?
I don't know.
Was it a religious thing?
It could
I
have been.
don't know, but we never played cards.
Well, you know, they used to, her dad and even my forth on the Burke side of the family, they are all musicians, but they would go to different houses each week, and they would have square dance right into the residence. You know, they'd have their own local, their own local music, but they would.
That's something else. I learned how to square dance and dance when I was just a kid. The whole family would go to
Everybody
dances.
would,
yeah.
sure.
Square dancing,
Like
but
the-
no cards.
The Grange Hall.
The Granges were big back then.
Yeah.
Everybody would go to the Grange.
Yep.
Yes, that was big the Granges.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And can you imagine going to town and see? This is something I really would have liked to live. I would have loved.
It's the only way we could go.
It's the only way you could go.
It's
Yeah.
like in the wintertime.
Or you
Dad
have a
would
cutter,
hitch up the
The
sleigh.
sleigh.
It was a cutter.
yeah, a big sled. Well, we had I don't know whether we had a cutter or not because there were 7 of us kids and there wouldn't have been room.
What's a cutter?
A cutter is it's got a set of bobs in the front and a set of bobs in the back.
Oh, okay.
It's like
They would curve just like
Yeah.
a sled.
Oh,
but they were
okay.
bobs.
All right.
And then they were hinged, so they would have the ability to make a smooth ride.
Mm.
That's what I think.
They have them in New York City now.
Yeah.